Let's talk about damp and mould. There's been a lot going on in this sector in the last few weeks since I recorded my podcast that appeared just before this one with Hector from UCL talking about just this subject, mould. In recent weeks, the issue of damp and mould, particularly in UK housing, has garnered significant attention, with some legislative movement around Awaab's law, some media and documentary series talking about the subject, and some pretty good commentary around this subject matter because of those two events. For those not from the UK, the government here has announced the introduction of Awaab's law from this autumn onwards. This legislation mandates that landlords react to the issues of damp and mould within certain timeframes. This was all instigated by the tragic death of a 2-year-old boy, Awaab, in Rochdale several years ago. It seemed within a few days of this, we also had a BBC Panorama documentary called Britain's Mouldy Homes. What turned out to be a rather contentious documentary looked at the pervasive issue of damp and mould in UK homes. The programme highlighted the severe risks of living in damp and mouldy homes and the systemic failure of some landlords to deal with the issue. I can tell you the documentary, as these often do, has sparked widespread debate about the requirements of landlords to deal with this problem and the systemic failures in society to manage this. And I think bringing this all together, Richard Blakeway, the housing ombudsman, has made some commentary on the new Awaab's law that's going to be enforced in September. He says he welcomes these new measures to provide further protection for renters living in hazardous conditions and its extension to private landlords. And he says it is a basic human right to live in a safe and decent home, and that this law is an important step towards helping the millions of people who do not, including 1 million children. When most residents have little choice over their landlord, these measures will give them greater power to challenge poor living conditions. And he notes that he's seen some progress 2 years after the inquest into Awaab's death. And we can see that landlords investing more into repairs, using new technology and changing the culture of housing management, those landlords should be recognised for the steps they have taken to make homes better in this vital sector. But he says despite this progress, we still repeatedly find significant and preventable failings in handling potential health hazards in homes. We can find some landlords not taking full responsibility, communicating poorly and making basic errors. Around half our casework still concerns damp and mould.